All right, Chelsea fans, welcome back to another episode. That's right, of the London is Blue podcast. Hopefully your favorite Chelsea podcast out there, and a part of the Men in Blazers Media Network. Dan, one of your hosts here alongside Nick. And look, London is still mostly blue. It's definitely not fully red, that's for sure. After Chelsea end up taking a point, dropping two, preventing Arsenal from taking all three. A lot of different views on the kaleidoscope on this one as you click through on the result of this match. Chelsea won, Arsenal won on the day. Chalobah with the 48th minute goal, and then Marino with the header in the 59th minute sees both teams take a point. And again, returning to a draw, just like the draw we had last season in a 1-1 draw against Arsenal at home at Stamford Bridge in November as well. Nick, as we get into this one, we'll talk a little bit just about how was this a good performance overall. We'll take a look at the Caicedo red card conversation. Obviously, some major performances from some Cobham graduates, like one Reece James, Reece MF and James, and then Trev Chalobah, and also some Robert Sanchez love as well too. But just get the heat check at the moment at the top of the pod. How are you feeling after this match?
I think frustrated mostly. I think
Taylor is frustrating. Yes, that's very important. We should acknowledge that at the top.
I think we were the better team. We deserved more than we got out of this game, and Arsenal are just an expensive Stoke, and that's just kind of what it is. This game, I think, especially the first half when it was 11v11, it felt like one of those. I don't know if this registers for you, Dan. It felt like one of those like 2006, 2007 Chelsea Man United games. The top two teams in the league, blood and thunder, huge tackles, great skill on display. Two teams going at each other for, to try and assert their dominance. And I think with 11, we did that. I think with 10, we did that. And, I think it's just, one mistake is all it takes for Arsenal to capitalize. And we weren't able to get the winner, but it did have a little bit of a vintage feel to it. It was maybe not the most skillful game that you'll ever see, but it definitely was a competitive, combative game. And if you're a Barclays fan, this is right up your alley.
It does resonate. I think that before the red card, there would be a conversation around what this game could have been, but obviously that changed the dynamic of everything in the direction of what Chelsea felt like they might be able to achieve in this one. Let's get some through match reviews in. Again, this is the way that we set the stage for how we think listeners and other Chelsea fans felt about the match. I picked a couple for you from our Discord. Nick, why don't you read a few of those off, and then we'll share ours.
CFC Tahoe Blue with Caicedo, Reece James, and
was the best midfielder on the day.
If you don't think we'll be talking about Reece James in this one, you are out of your mind. Spanish Joe with "Fuck you, Arsenal." Pointed, well said.
Perennial, yeah.
Hard to disagree with any of that sentiment. Clip Show with boring Arsenal. Yep. Satchet True Blue Chelsea with Maresca stayed calm. Great. And then Matt Fitz with Reece captain performance. All of these things ring true to me, Dan.
Look, I went with responded to adversity because we have seen a couple of these red card situations for Chelsea this season not go our way in any which way, shape, or form. And we have not always handled it well from a managerial side and then also a player side. And this felt like maybe because we've had enough reps this season going down to 10 men that we understood now how to play at a higher level, how to commit, how to really put ourselves or put the players putting themselves on the line appropriately to deliver as good a result as we possibly could potentially out of this one. And so I think the response from the players, the response from the manager to the situation, maybe second to none. And to your point, on another day, maybe even 10 down, you're taking away all 3 points, which is really, really good.
Yeah, I think so for sure. I mean, we'll talk about the red card and all that sort of stuff. I went with almost, possibly, maybe. I think the questions of if Chelsea are a title contender or Chelsea going to challenge Arsenal the rest of the year, I still don't think we know. I think it's going to be, the rest of the season, the last, 26 games that we really figure that out. And, we'll see if Chelsea have the consistency and the clinical finishing to do it, but hard to say after this one.
So let's get into then the conversation around just, is this a good point? Maresca's opinion. So he, in the post-match conversation on the Chelsea website, saying, I think sometimes you have to be happy even with 1 point. For sure, the target was to win the game. Again, 11v11, I think we were better than them. We managed the game. We controlled the game. We didn't concede chances. That was his opinion. I think we've talked to people who were there on the ground who walked away feeling really, really good about the result. I think there's people who are on the opposite side and can't believe that we gave away a chance to stick it to Arsenal to really close the gap on them and put true pressure on them. Where are you on, just first and foremost, is it a good point? And what's your broader perspective on just the end outcome?
It's a really difficult thing because in a lot of ways, Dan, this is the least satisfying result that you could have in a game like this.
Sure.
If you lose the game, you're pretty much done, right? For 9 points back is a really tough hill to climb. It's not impossible, but kind of feels that way to me. If you win the game, you're fully in the conversation. This is just kind of kicking the can down the road a little bit. And so, I mean, is this a good point? If you get a point with 10 men, I think that's always a good point. It shows a resilience. It shows, a stick-to-itiveness. It shows, accepting pressure and delivering under, immense circumstances. I think there's a lot to admire from this, definitely. On the flip side of the coin, though, it feels just like a huge opportunity missed. I think Maresca's right. We were better than them. And if you want to see the difference between these two managers, I'm going to read you 2 quotes. Okay? Tell me which one of these screams winner's mentality. Maresca, we were much better than them with 11v11, but with 10 players, it's more difficult, but we dealt with it outstandingly, right? That was his quote. Mikel Arteta, overall, I think that when you don't win with 10 men for 45 minutes, you have to be disappointed, but you have to know the week we had a tough opponent. One of those screams, I don't know how we didn't do that, but I'm going to make excuses. The other is we accept responsibility and we're going to try and go win this thing. And honest to God, I think if you would have played that game for 10 more minutes, we probably would have found a winner. It felt like that in the second half. We were building momentum. We were figuring out how to get on the counter. We dealt with their set pieces extraordinarily well. That was the whole ball game for me, and we did come out on top there. I don't know. I don't know how to characterize this point because it just felt like it didn't do anything. The end result is we were exactly where we were when we started this thing.
Look, I think I'm still going to walk away with it as a pretty positive point for this side. I mean, again, we drew against them last year at home. So I don't think you didn't necessarily improve if you kind of want to view it that way, because you would have won. If you improved, you would have taken all 3 points at home. However, I'm going to give a lot of contextual benefit here to, that was a very early red card. We're not talking about a red card that was a double yellow, which there could have been many of those in this game as well too. That Anthony Taylor just decided didn't really pass the muster, which is fine here, neither here nor there. But we're talking 37th minute was when VAR went to change the card. So from 38th minute forward, effectively a full half plus the extra, I think 4 minutes it was, 5 minutes of additional time in the first half. That is a long time to play a man down against, again, one of the best teams in Europe at the moment, one of the best teams in England. And I know that people are going to say, well, wait a minute, they didn't have a bunch of their best players and they had people on cards. Well, also, we didn't go attack the players on cards. That was a decision we should have done differently. But, I'm still happy with the response that, the intensity of this team didn't drop. Because they didn't go back into their shell. They didn't go back to kind of take it out. We made changes coming out of the half. And I know people were like, wait a minute, why are we? I think some people got upset because they saw Tosin getting up to potentially warm up. And that kind of triggered a few people. But I mean, Estevao comes off for Garnacho. I think people didn't necessarily love that, but he had, I think, a generally good performance from when he came on. Was getting like driving into the box, which I think is what you needed to do. You needed someone who was just going to bring it in, like Neto on the other side, to really force their fullbacks into tough situations, to pin them back a little bit deeper, so they couldn't press with the entirety of their team minus Raya. So yeah, I think all in all, I'm happier with the point than if we had like lost it. And I felt like we were trying to, with the delap for Pedro, I think we were trying to gamble a little bit with, could we get something out of this? It didn't come out in the day. And so I'm happier that we took a point than as if we lost at home. If we'd lost at home, I would have been pretty furious on this episode, to be fair.
Yeah, I think we could even question some of the, the choice that were made with the lineup in this one too. Like obviously outside of the kind of front four, there wasn't a whole lot of adjustment from the game against Barcelona. And that made sense because it was such an amazing performance. We waxed poetic about it. We talked about it a lot, right? I think the opportunity to start Estevao in this game, to move Pedro Neto over to the left and to play Joao Pedro was kind of the critical decision, right? And I understand why Maresca made that decision. Obviously, I think Big Steve more than earned it after his performance against Barcelona, getting the start. I think if I were, I wasn't on the preview with you guys, but I was kind of hoping to see Neto on the right, Garnacho on the left, and maybe, some Delap, some Pedro, just depending on how it is, and maybe get some Cole Palmer late. Obviously, we didn't see Cole Palmer in this one, despite being quote-unquote ready to start, which I think we could all see through like a clear plastic bag that was not going to happen in this one. So all that being said, like it was kind of an odd one because, the way that we attacked Barcelona, we could not attack Arsenal. It's a whole different challenge, and it requires – I think some different skills, and we just didn't get enough from those forward areas today to really make a huge impact. We didn't get a ton of shots. We'll go through the stats here in a little bit. Like, it just didn't quite come off. But can we talk about the red?
Well, let's do that after our first ad break. So
Okay.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back. All right, so first ad break out of the way. Just a couple stats about the red card, which I think are interesting. One from Off to Joe. Moises Caicedo has received his first red card in the Premier League in his 130th appearance. He is the 7th Chelsea player to be sent off against Arsenal in the competition, first since David Luiz in September of 2017. Studs. 130 games. Been a long time since that red card coulda, shoulda, would have happened in the past. He's definitely made some, I think, questionable tackles in the past that potentially put him in the tough position. He's also made a bunch of great tackles, and I think the challenge of being I say more kind of technical but physical midfielder in the way that he plays one-on-one and how he duels is that he does make some tackles sometimes that are going to put him and put a match official in the decision, like, am I going to card him? Is this going to go against him? And this was just the end opposite side of he gambled. He didn't get it right. He ends up getting set off. He's going to miss Leeds, Bournemouth, and Everton. So, like, those are the next 3 games that he's going to miss. And then now Chelsea have actually picked up 4 red cards across 13 Premier League games this season, which is twice as much as the entirety of last season. So thoughts, feelings, opinions on this one. I know people are pointing to Caicedo as like you couldn't do that in this game. Like, you couldn't do that. Maybe the counterpoint I would argue is that, like, he's been the player that, like, we are grinding into the ground because there's no good backup for Moises Caicedo in this Chelsea team. He plays a ton. He's relied upon. He has saved us so many times in so many games that, like, I don't know how mad I could be that he ended up getting a card on the day. Like, I think also Anthony Taylor could have made a couple other decisions that would have made this a 10 versus 10 game, and that didn't happen. So, thoughts?
I'm super disappointed in him. I haven't said that a whole lot on the show. I think everyone knows how I feel about Arsenal. It's just the one game you can't do this. You just can't do it. And you could tell pretty early on he was in a fighting mood, and he wasn't the only one. It was a big day out. There was a lot of tough tackles that went in. But I think what upsets me the most about this is, again, game state. You don't know where you are. I think genuinely he just flew into a challenge and didn't know where he was. And you can tell because the challenge itself is really stupid in a normal context. Arsenal player Moreno is back to goal, not threatening anything. And Caicedo just stamps on his ankle, studs up. It's a clear red card. It's a terrible challenge. And before this, the reason why I say this, he'd been kind of steaming for a while. He was getting into arguments. He was getting into shoving matches. Like, I think he was trying to stamp his authority on the game and instead got stamped out of the game because he couldn't control himself. And it's a bad look. Like, I think as a leader of the team, I love him. He's a fantastic player. He is the best in the world for me. This is a super, super, super devastating mistake. Because I think that the odds of us winning this game when he's on the pitch, if we have him for the entire game, are I would have bet dollars to donuts we'd come away with the win. We were playing better than them. Like, we're in the ascendancy. Arsenal had like 20 minutes in this match in the first half, right before Caicedo's red card, where they were doing okay. The rest of the match, I thought we played really, really well. This can't happen, and it cost us, and who knows what it will cost us later on. But again, we're talking about discipline, man. Again, we're talking about how many red cards is it going to take before this team figures it the fuck out. And apparently in the biggest games, we can't trust ourselves to play with 11 men. And I don't know of any team in world football that can overcome that and win trophies. I really don't. So, I hope they do something just different in training or something, but it is highly, highly disappointing. And, if we're going to say this about other players on red cards, we got to say it about Caicedo. Is fair.
I will say, if we kind of talk about discipline, it was also a game where Arsenal did not have any discipline. I mean, they had 6 players on yellow cards as well. I think in particular, if you look at Lewis Skelly, I think he could have gotten a second yellow very fairly and been sent off. I think that the crash from Gyökeres into Sanchez could have been could have been a yellow card as well. Could have gone a little bit harsher as well because it was reckless. It was more reckless than I think VAR gave him credit for, and they called it an unfortunate situation. It's unfortunately, he knocked into his face. So I don't know what you're trying to say here. You have to be able to control yourself in that type of scenario. I want to go through some stats because I think that we talked about the Caicedo thing. We talked about, what that kind of did from a change of perspective here. I do think from an achievement standpoint though, and some people don't like when we kind of do these things. It's oh, well, how you can't, we didn't win. So you can't talk about really positive things. We did some stuff against Arsenal that teams the entire season have been struggling to do. Some teams better, earlier in the season than us than we are right now. Total overall stats just for this game. 0.79 XG for us to their 1.26. We both had one big chance. We had 11 total shots to their 8. Both goalkeepers came up for saves at 3 periods. They had 6 yellow cards to our 1. We had 1 red card to their 0. That XG that they achieved, the 1.26, is the 4th lowest across the Premier League matches that we've played so far this season. Only Liverpool with a 0.5 XG that they achieved against them, and then a 0.9 against City and Palace were the times that they were had actually been held to less XG the entirety of the season. So that's, I think, a positive thing we were doing. And I mean, the majority of that XG actually came in the second half, not in the first half. The XG allowed, so us achieving the 0.79 XG, that is the 3rd highest expected goal allow that Arsenal have allowed in 13 Premier League matches. United achieved a 1.5, and then City achieved a 0.9. And then this was like 8 was the lowest number of shots taken by Arsenal in any Premier League game this season. So out of 13 games across all the competition where they've played Liverpool and they've played City and they've played us, like 8 was the lowest. And actually, in the first 45 minutes of this game, they had just 2 touches in our box. It is the lowest they've had or the fewest that they've had in the first half of a Premier League game since December of 2021. Like defensively, and I think this probably kind of might make you more frustrated. Like we did a lot here defensively to really get at the plan that Arteta put together, to get at the way that they were trying to take advantage of our team. And they just could not really even cope with it. I mean, like, again, 0.25 of that XG came in the first half for Arsenal. Like, essentially, like, when they were up one man, like, that's when 6 of their 8 shots came. But for that first half, they only had 2 shots. Like, we really, really did I think, a fantastic job defensively against them. And again, they're only 2 shots on target. Sorry, they have 4 shots of their 8 were on target, 2 per each half. So I don't know. Like, I feel really good that we were able to put together this type of performance. And in particularly, we're able to do that type of performance with 10 men, because it shows me that like we are building something super solid that we can take forward from this moment and really think about, well, now how do you go against Brighton and Bournemouth and the rest of the teams in the league and shore up this thing defensively when you're now adding Cole Palmer back in, when you're having Estevao kind of on this tear, when you're having Pedro Neto available. Like, you are going to be in a really good position heading into this December. And like, we have not said that very often about this Chelsea team, this club heading into December being in a really, really good place.
Yeah. I mean, I would also just like, I was so encouraged by the set piece.
Yeah.
Both defensively and offensively. Obviously, we score off one. The irony doesn't miss me. But the way that we defended set pieces, the way that Sanchez came out strong, the way that the defenders locked down, the way that it was physical. I mean, Arsenal have been bullying teams on set pieces, shoving them into the hoardings and, doing all sorts of ridiculous shit, trying to cramp the goalkeepers to get an advantage. And Chelsea completely put a stop to that. There was not one moment from a set piece where I was afraid that we were going to concede. And that had to be alarming to them because, we took a bit of a blueprint from some other teams this season and perfected it. And I would imagine that most of that XG is actually open play, which is, a kind of a rare thing for that team. So, I look at this as probably the one thing that made a huge difference in the game for me is the fact that we were able to shut them down in the thing that they wanted to do the most. They're an expensive Stoke, and Stoke did steal some possession goals. They were kind of crafty in that way, but when you were able to shut down their long throws and their free kicks and their corners, they became a shell themselves, and expensive Stoke today did not really generate a whole lot, even with an advantage of a man for 65 minutes.
I do think that we are in a position to, I think, take some positives out of this. I think one is the Reece James midfield conversation in these big matches and the way that Maresca is using him, whether it be in Barcelona or whether it be in this game. It's adding a dynamic to this team. It's adding an intensity. It's adding a fight. It's adding a ball-winning element and an ability to push the ball and push play forward that I think maybe at times, like the bounce with, Caicedo and Enzo is there's not always that individual, because of how they're being pulled apart across the entirety of the pitch. We think about like the horizontal element of it, that this adds that forward vertical dynamic in attack that is so impressive, and how quick he can kind of get back and how he can stay up and how he can roll through challenges. Like some of the ways that he was shrugging people off in this game was absolutely phenomenal. I'll give you the stats and I'll let you wax poetic. His game by the numbers: 11 out of 12 duels won, 6 final third entries, 4 fouls won, 4 crosses, 2 chances created, 2 times 1 back possession, 1 assist. And then no Chelsea player has provided more assists across all competitions this season at 4 than 1 Reece James.
It was a pretty outstanding performance. I think especially in lieu of Caicedo being there, he did a lot of Caicedo things and then added the sprinkle of class that we know that he has in his bag that maybe Caicedo doesn't have, which is those long diagonal passes that were, inch perfect to spring counterattacks to Garnacho and to Pedro Neto and, balls in behind, crosses. He's just a remarkable footballer. I mean, it's a remarkable game state for him to come into and play like this, to leave people, a lot of neutrals going, is he the best midfielder in the Premier League? And look, it hasn't. I mean, this experiment has not always worked for Chelsea. Let's be honest. There's been times where it's looked awkward and maybe he hasn't had the legs in midfield to cover the ground. That was not the case today. I mean, it was a full out performance. He was all over the place. He was making Arsenal's complement of midfielders look silly. He was basically the reason that Calafiori was not played in the second half because Reece was just kind of abusing him. It really genuinely was an astounding performance, and Reece James is just simply, I don't know how to put it, but if he plays this full season after playing most of last season at the level in which he's playing, there are a few better footballers on this planet, let alone right backs or midfielders, than Reece James. He is dominant. And for all the Jury and Timber talk, he's a fine player. Don't compare these two. They are leagues apart.
Yeah, that's like having a conversation about the sun and the moon. Yes, they're both celestial bodies. One orbits a planet, the other provides all light across the solar system. Reece James is the sun, motherfuckers. Come on, this is the reality of the situation. Just at the member matches he's played this season across all competitions, so he's had 16 matches played, 11 starts. We go back to the 23-24 season. I mean, he only had played in 11 matches. So credit to Maresca, credit to Reece, credit to the training, and medical staff for getting him to a situation where he is being managed appropriately. I mean, at 1,000, he just crested over 1,000 minutes now with 4 goals and assists across all competition. That puts him at an expected goal and assist at 0.36 per 90. I mean, his best season, if we go back to that 21-22 season when he had 16 goals and assists across all competitions, which is just obscene.
16 goals and assists. I mean, come on.
It was 6 and 10. It was more assists than goals, but those goals were really good. That put him at a 0.5 XGA. So he is. It's better than his any other best season that he has had for Chelsea in terms of just output per 90. And if he keeps this up, I mean, he could be in a scenario where over the remainder of minutes, if he gets closer to 3,000 minutes across the entirety of the season, across all competitions, I don't know if that happens based upon just the average right now. I mean, you would hope that we get to see him in every big game, but clearly Maresca and them have kind of unlocked where his minutes are, where he can be effective, how much he can play. I mean, he even talked about the fact that heading into the midweek here against Leeds, that's just not going to be an option to play Reece. And I am happier that we know where his availability is at and we're managing him to that, because I want to see him as many times as possible healthy, playing a Chelsea shirt every single season as possible, versus we think we're going to have him for a couple months and then we lose him and then he's gone for half the season. This is fantastic work by the team to get him here. And this is why you want to manage him effectively.
Yeah. I mean, we're not going to see him midweek. I think that's pretty clear, but we're also not going to see Moises Caicedo for 3 straight matches. So I'd imagine that you're going to see a little bit more of him in midfield as we move forward. And that's also been helped because Malo Gusto has been very good at right back, right? So, I mean, there's some positional flexibility there. You're obviously going to have to figure out a way to rotate those guys and also rotate Josh in as well, because I think that really does make a huge difference. But, you kind of think about that. You do have more options in a pretty thin midfield. Chelsea are down Asugo, down Lavia. Andre Santos still isn't fully trusted in some of these matches. And so you'll probably see different combinations. You'll probably see Enzo Fernandez rotated out, Reece and Andre in there as a midfield combo, Reece and Enzo, so on and so forth. So it's going to be really interesting to see.
I mean, one person also played right back before, has been shifted into right back by Enzo Maresca in recent memory in the past couple of matches here. One Trev Chalobah also had a really good game.
He did. Wearing a shirt. Boom.
Of course, you chose the shirt for the recording in particular. 1 tackle, 4 recoveries, 6 clearances, 1 out of 2 ground duels, 4 out of 5 aerial duels, 1 foul, 1 absolute elbow to the back of the face that did not get adjudicated appropriately at all. 1 pointing to it afterwards, and 1 Instagram story afterwards with the ice pack on the wound. Great performance from Trev Chalobah.
Great performance. I mean, I think the entire defense, for the most part, did a good job. I think Trev was the best of the bunch. Flex on him, Trev. It's a great celebration. Brings me a ton of joy. I just think about some of the moments where it wasn't even the goal. The goal is an incredible goal. It's an impossible angle to score a header from, and it's a beautiful thing. And it gave Chelsea a much-needed lift after losing Caicedo. But some of the late challenges and, deflections out for corners and the way that he was just like ginning his teammates up did show that quality that he has. And it is a really, really special thing when he's going. I think him and Fofana have established a pretty good partnership together. Knock on wood, they can both stay healthy. And they're being aided by some good fullback play too. But there's just some moments where you need your leaders to step up, right? Reece did his thing. Trev did his thing. Cucurella all over the place. Enzo Fernandez all over the place. Like, there were some moments in this game where you can look around at the leaders and go, we're not afraid of you guys. We don't fear you. In fact, expensive Stoke, we're better than you. So, I think that is kind of where I'm at with Trev. I mean, he has not been great all season. I think that's been, well discussed on this pod. We don't need to retread that territory. But in the last 6-7 matches, he has been really, really good. And today was one of those days where you're just so fucking glad you didn't make a massive mistake and kick him out of the club. I think, for the sporting directors who wanted to do that, I think you saw a reason today why you need to keep this guy in your team. And let's just see what he does with the rest of the season now, because I think we're looking really, really interesting and dynamic defensively if we can play in the midfield and in attack like we have been. A little less for them to do. And against Arsenal, really, as you noted, they didn't have a ton to do. There weren't that many chances created, but they were so instrumental in possession, right? Especially the little possession that we had in the second half. They weren't making the stupid pass. They weren't just giving the ball up in midfield or doing the long pass for no reason. It was a genuine whole team effort. But man, I'm pumped for him. Everyone knows I have a soft spot for him.
Yeah, I mean, we scored our goal with only 30% possession in the second half. I mean, they had 70% of the possession, Arsenal, for that, and they were only able to manage 6 shots with the one big chance. We managed the same amount with far less of the ball during that period of time. So one other player who we don't, we've been, back and forth. People have loved him. People have hated him. People were singing songs about him during the midweek, which is phenomenal. Bob Sanchez is just, playing himself into a situation where fans are singing his name, singing his praises, watching him come up with some really fantastic saves. And again, obviously we we're in a moment after the Club World Cup talking about just if he could replicate that level of performance, that level of being dialed in, the cross-claiming, the distribution, just the comfort he was providing to defenders, the way he was organizing. Like, I mean, obviously this whole.
What are you gonna do here? You have that look in your eye that you're about to say something outrageous.
Who are you looking at as an upgrade right now? Like out there, like I think the list is becoming super short. Of like, if you're like, hey, I'm gonna go find you an upgrade on, Bob. That list is getting like smaller and smaller for me as I'm seeing how, not just how he, claims crosses, comes up in some of these shot saving moments. Again, any of our players clearly are, even our best players are open to making a boneheaded move every now and then. So like, I guess I'm going to give him a little bit more grace than I have in the past, but like he is coming up really good. This was an absolutely phenomenal performance from him on the day, worthy of, I think SofaScore gave him an 8.2. He was the man of the match on their perspective. I mean, the 3 saves were huge. I mean, effectively, it said the 3 saves were worth 1.
He was man of the match for them
on SofaScore. Yes, I mean, I think we say it's Reece.
Of course we do, because we have the gift of sight.
2 saves from inside the box. I mean, he came up in some really big moments.
Sure.
I think that it was a really, really strong performance from him on the back of, I think, a strong performance midweek, and like long may it continue. Because if we have more and more of these performances, like having a solid defensive record is a super, super critical thing. And it starts with your goalkeeper not giving up dumb goals. And like there was not a dumb goal given up in this game, which is really, really great.
Yeah, I think a couple of things about Bob.
You're calling him Bob too. We clearly are good spirits about our guy.
Yeah, no, he had a great game. This is his game. This sort of scrappy physical game where he knows he's watched the tape. He saw what Arsenal did to Manuel Neuer, who is objectively, past his prime, but in his prime was the best goalkeeper in the world. They see what Arsenal has done to good goalkeepers. They watch tape. He knew what he was in for today. And he is big and strong too. Like, this is not a guy who is a Philip Jorgensen sized person. He's bigger, stronger, faster, much more confident, claiming crosses, not going to take shit from anyone. I mean, this is his sort of match, right? The saves were fantastic. The one where he went down, I think it was to his right and stopped it, stood in there taking both studs from Gyökeres in that challenge. It was a fantastic display from him. Like, he deserves the plaudits. I didn't want to think about goalkeeper, upgrades and all that sort of stuff right now because I think that'd be doing him disservice. He has not this year made a lot of the same dumb mistakes that he made last year. So, like, let's just say that out loud. And he's played with 10 men a shit ton this year.
More than he would like, I'm sure.
More than any of us would like, for sure. So, like, I don't know. I look at him and, I think we've given up, 12 goals this season? Something like that. Yeah, 12
we've
goals
given up 12, yes.
Yep. So we're tied with Man City. We're 1 behind Villa, who have only given up 11. We're okay. We're only 5 behind Arsenal, too. So, I think let's appreciate him for the growth. And let's appreciate him for the growth in distribution, too, which was a huge problem not that long ago, right? So I really genuinely just want to big him up and hope that through this December patch, which was not so kind to us last year, that he steps up and plays a tremendous role in this team, because you could tell he was feeling himself after Barcelona, right? He was really, really feeling himself, and I hope that continues.
Well, let's take a last ad break. When we get back, we'll talk about the final pieces of this match. We'll then start looking ahead into the midweek, where this kind of puts Chelsea, as we have Leeds this week and also Bournemouth. Again, a busy week for Chelsea Football Club. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. All right, Nick, any last thoughts about this match as we say goodbye to this result, as we take the book and we close it on Chelsea versus Arsenal in the year of 2025, and we look ahead to the remainder of the matches we have left to play.
You know, I look at this week in totality, right? Because it was a big week. You're coming back from an international break, get a good result. You have a great result midweek, and then you play this game with 10 men for a large part of it and get, you know, a result, not the result that you want. But I think if you would have said, you know, as disappointed as I am that we didn't beat these fuckers, and I genuinely think we can beat them. I leave today knowing we can beat Arsenal, despite the fact that we didn't. Like, I know we can. If you would have said, hey, you're going to get, 7 points out of a possible 9? Coming back from break, no Cole Palmer still, right? Biggest week of the season, you would have taken it for sure. You know, I think it does leave us wanting a little bit in terms of where we are on the table. It was a pretty bad week for us in terms of results. All the other teams around us won and we didn't, so that's a difficult one. But I hope Maresca is doing 2 things right now based on this. The first thing is I hope that he is congratulating everybody who played a role in this, staff, everybody, because they got it right and Arteta had no fucking clue what to do. World's best manager, Mikel Arteta, by the way. Said that in air quotes for those listening on the podcast. He's a complete muppet. And he was thoroughly outcoached today. So I hope Maresca is congratulating everyone. And then I hope he's working on the discipline thing, like serious this time. Because we have a big match slate coming up, a huge match slate. We're going to play a ton of football here. If you think that Chelsea are serious title contenders, they're going to stop getting red cards after this match. Mm-hmm. And that will be a big indicator, Dan. It'll be a huge indicator if we are taking ourselves seriously or not. You know, Maresca seems to think that we are title contenders. I don't at this point, but I know for one thing for goddamn sure. If we stop getting red cards, we have a chance.
Yeah.
If we don't, we're fucked. And that is just basic math, guys. Like, I know people will be like, man, Nick, you're so negative. We're not in the title race, blah, blah, blah. No, we're not. I think it's going to be really, really hard to get 6 points off of them the rest of the season. But the only way that we can do that is by winning our matches. We have to win. We have to overcome the challenge. And you can't do it with 10 men. So fix it.
So, I mean, I guess like the last thing I would say, you know, just a couple kind of positive points on my end, particularly around the Premier League. If you go back to the beginning of November, after we, you know, effectively, you know, entered the month after the international break, and we had, you know, that unfortunate loss to Sunderland 2-1, Chelsea win 1-0 against Tottenham, Chelsea win 3-0 against Wolves, Chelsea win 2-0 against Burnley, Chelsea take the draw 1-1. I mean, we've only let up 1 goal in the Premier League in the entirety of November across those 4 matches. Very positive sign. I mean, the other thing is you consider just coming out after the international break. I mean, we scored 6 goals and only allowed 1, and our competition was Burnley, Barcelona, and Arsenal. That's also a very good sign. And so I think there are a lot of things. I think to your point, we're still not perfect. We're still developing. We're still figuring out our identity. We're still struggling to manage all of these matches with a side that is not as fit as we wish it was, with key players out that we want back as soon as possible. And that, to me, I think is just a hats off credit to Maresca for like getting us through this kind of moment, figuring out how to kind of get the players motivated, get them ready. I think to your point, big upping those individuals who are contributing, like Reece at this moment, you know, like Sanchez, like Trev, getting them the recognition so that we can continue pushing forward, because you look at the table, and again, it still favors Arsenal. Arsenal are in the top position. They're on 30 points. It's the most disgusting thing I've seen. Every time I see them with more points, it's the next most disgusting thing I've ever seen. Man City at second place on 25 points after their win this weekend, because Leeds can't do anything right. Dirty Leeds. Just never going to do anything right. We're currently on 24 points along with Aston Villa, though we have the better goal difference, plus 12 to their plus 5. Brighton currently sit in 5th place on 22, same amount of points as Sunderland, but they have one more goal. That's definitely the story of the season for sure. Not Arsenal. Sunderland being in 6th place with 13 Premier League games played is my story of the season. They have 22 points. Man United, 21 points. Liverpool, 21 points. Crystal Palace, 20. Brentford, 19. That's your top 10 right now. We've taken 10 points in November. It's the most in the month of November since the 17-18 season, where we also got 10 points from a possible 12. I don't know. Feels goodish.
I mean, you noted, though, this table is so log-jammed.
Oh, for sure.
We're just one bad result away from being on level with United and Liverpool. We're a couple bad results away from being in 12th. All the way down there where I think a scrappy team called Tottenham is. Like, it's just, it's too early to tell. We're only 13 matches in, so we have 25 to go, not 26. I think I said 26 earlier in the show. It's too early to tell. But there's some encouraging signs for sure. There's some stuff out there that I think is way, way better and more advanced than last season.
Yeah.
No doubt. And then there's a lot of silly shit happening too, for us in particular. And I think if you cut the silly shit, you get Cole Palmer back, you start to get some of the injured pieces back, and everyone is raising their game to a championship level. If that is truly where they believe that, if everyone on the team believes that's where we're going to be, we'll see it on the field. We'll see everyone raise their performance in lieu of Caicedo being out for 3 games and Reece being rotated out because we're not stupid and we're not going to do the same shit again and injure people, by playing them 18 games in a row. We'll see it. We'll see other players, complementary pieces, raise their game to a championship level. I think Andre has already started doing that in this little stretch of games. I was really surprised we didn't see him today. But other players have too. Mal Gusto's raised his game tremendously year over year, right? Huge component to this. Big Steve raised his game. When Cole Palmer's back and the rest of the pieces are firing, it's going to be interesting. At the very least, it's like, you're giving Caicedo a mandatory week and a half break, which is probably not the worst thing, I guess, for him and his health. But, you're going to have to figure out a way to mix and match. And the players that come in have to play at the level. So we'll see.
We have lastly I would say about this is just that, if you're talking about like where we should be, or we should be higher, we should be lower in the table. I did pull the Opta information because they do a bunch of number crunching, and we like some numbers here. The expected table, which is where they look at, and like basically all they do is like, what's the XG total? What's the XG allowed? How did that go through the matches? And did effectively you have a difference of like what that total was? And so they actually have right now that the top 3 should be Arsenal, City, and Chelsea, and that we should be on 20.7. City should be on 22.7, and Arsenal should be on 26.7. It's actually all 3 of the teams in the top are like the right teams with more points, so it's fine. But then they also predict like that Palace, Liverpool, United would round out the top 6 if you looked at like expected goals, expected assists. So like, you're talking about teams that are not getting luck in any way, shape, or form. Palace, Liverpool would be on the opposite side of that. I'm mixed on Crystal Palace, but I'm definitely happy that Liverpool are not getting anywhere near the luck that they got last season. That's fantastic. When you then take this and then flip this to their predicted table, which simulates the remainder of the season, the terrible news that I have to share with you is that they still view that Arsenal will achieve somewhere in the 81.39 expected points, and that they view them currently as having a probability of 79.14 of winning the title. They have Man City with an expected points of 70.27 with an expected title probability of 11.3. And then Chelsea, they predict that we will have 65.94, so let's say 66 points, and that we have a 4.08% probability that we would win the title. So Why not us, Nick? That's all I'm picking from those numbers.
Why not us is 4.08%?
Look.
Okay.
Never said it was easy.
No, I mean, look, I think if you're being objective right now, Arsenal are definitely the favorites to win the title.
Sure.
Like
without question.
100% are. And it will take some doing to scrape those 6 points back because they are not good in big games. I think the Bayern Munich game midweek was kind of an aberration. Like I don't think Bayern kind of played them correctly. I think we showed everybody else how to play them today in a way. City had a good draw with them early in the season. Liverpool beat them. So like, this is not an invincible fucking team. They're not that good. They're just diehard consistent. They don't drop week to week. So they're going to pick up points against all the teams that they should beat. The question is, can we do that and then beat them and then have City beat them or Liverpool beat them or something else? Like, I'm kind of assuming there's going to be fluke results everywhere. It's hard to predict when those will come. It might come in this upcoming festive fixture period because it's so crazy and difficult to navigate. But like, I'm just kind of assuming they're going to win the games they're supposed to win. And if you're serious, you have to go put in a unbelievable performance against Leeds on Wednesday. Mm-hmm. That's what they're going to do. I mean, I hate to be the bearer of bad news. Like, I think you had to win today to have a real shout at it. And if you didn't win, then you kick the can down the road. But that can's only going to go so far if you don't put in a good performance against Leeds coming up. So I am not bullish right now, unfortunately.
And look, I would say the odds are not our favorite at this point. It would be long shot at best, but Chelsea thrive in a long shot situation. So I would not count us out, but we definitely have a mountain to climb, as it were, and we need Arsenal to come back down to earth a little bit. And I mean, they do have some injury concerns from a defensive standpoint that might put them a little at risk. And their summer striker signing has not gotten off hot either. So let's just kind of take a look at all kind of scenario pieces here.
Well, I was also thinking about this. Maybe it's a good thought to close on. So that like Barclays analogy I made at the start of the pod, right, where it just felt like a really kind of throwback match. You know what was a characteristic of those seasons that we were playing in is almost without a doubt, you were going to face the other good team in the Premier League in the Champions League knockout stages. And I think if Chelsea had a chance to play Arsenal in the Champions League knockout stages, that we would be the last fucking team that they would want to see.
Ooh.
And I genuinely think that we would ruin their season potentially, which is something to just noodle on because UEFA is a totally unbiased and not story-driven organization at all. They certainly don't play into narrative or whatever. So, yeah.
You know what? It would suck. Well, this is game theory of this. It would suck if Arsenal won the league. But if we were the reason that they did not win the Champions League and we won it instead, how's that for a season?
The absolute head loss in North London, their sad-ass parade. Burr, burr, burr. Yeah. So
could be interesting. That's all I'm saying. Look,
could be a fun thing to think about.
Yeah.
Yep.
We got plenty more pods coming for you this week. No surprise. Leeds preview, Leeds match review, a Bournemouth preview. That will round out the week because we've got a busy December ahead. So welcome to the final month of 2025. Welcome to the final month.
Happy Honda days, everybody. Toyota-thon.
Yeah, it's the Lexus to Remember event, Nick.
December to remember. All of them. Let's go.
Don't forget, you can like and subscribe, hit the bell icon to get notified on YouTube. Leave wonderful comments letting us know how you like this episode. You can get involved in our Discord community for your paid capacity. You can leave 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. It's always appreciated. Hey, it's a season of giving and thanks. So thank us for the 5-star review. It's a wonderful thing to do. And you can also sign up for our free weekly newsletter, The Lens Blue Dispatch, written by our good friend Sam. Great way to stay up to date and just get some additional perspective on the Chelsea season so far, individual matches too. That's going to do it for this episode. So thank you so much for listening. Until next time, Chelsea fans, you know what to do. Keep blue flag flying high.